Marc Bolan, a glam rock rival of Noddy's, actually.
It's one of his records, which features in a new one-show series where famous musos take us back to the first record they bought.
First up, Toya Wilcox.
The very first single I ever bought was Marc Bolan, T-Rex, Ride.by Swan. It was 1971 and I was 12 years old and I felt so adult walking into the little record shop and asking for the single. I grew up in Birmingham, a very middle-class upbringing. I went to an all-girls school where we weren't allowed to talk to boys when we were in school uniform. Very strict upbringing. And then one day I turned the telly on and there was Marc Bolan on Top of the Pops. Get it on, then get it on. Here was a man with corkscrew hair, with eye makeup on, a hint of lip gloss and a glitter teardrop. And in that moment, my very strict, almost Victorian upbringing changed forever. Here it is. Isn't that fantastic? And it just feels so, well, it's just tangible. It's not like an MP3. You actually have something in your hand that is part of your devotion to the artist. It's a long time since I've done this. I just love it. It makes you want to dance. And I was only allowed to play this in my bedroom where I had my little dance set, and I'd just dance around the bedroom manically trying to get rid of my pre-teenage energy and wondering how I was going to marry Marc Bolan. It's really wonderful to hear it again. Ride a White Swan, I don't know what it's about, but I spent every weekend of my childhood on the River Avon, and the River Avon is covered in white swans, so I always felt that he'd written the song about my childhood. Ride a white swan, let the people know the belting, where you along, baby, can go by. Marc Bolan was definitely a rebel because he just broke the mould at the time. And for me, part of that rebellion was that he dared to be quite feminine. It was like, woo. This man wears makeup, he wears satin, he's gentle in the way he speaks. It was a very gentle rebellion, it was a very poetical rebellion. I move like a cat, charge like a rat, sting like a bee, babe, I wanna be your man. My best friend at the time was a fellow Bolan fan, and every now and then we get together to reminisce.
I thought he was beautiful. I thought he was the most beautiful man in the whole wide world.
That's how I felt. And I think growing up in Birmingham, where men were very, very butch,
yeah,
and had very long, unclean hair at the time.
It was the unclean hair.
It was the unclean hair. And then Bolan came along, and here was this man that you could tell smelled of carnations or roses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who wrote poetry. I mean, is it a wonder that we were completely bowled over by him?
No.
But one of my most enduring memories of Bolan was the teardrop on the cheek. It symbolised the poet. So would you do one for me?
Yeah, okay. Can I put that in there?
Yeah, go on.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. And I remember the conversation was always about boys. And if a boy looked like Marc Bolan, then he was heavily in.
Yeah.
And I remember the serious snogging after the discos.
The first teardrop's fine, the second one looks a bit of a mess. It looks like you've got a bruise.
Oh, well. By the time that he died in 1977, they were already embarking on my musical career. And for me, Bolan allowed me to make that journey. He gave me the right to my individuality. I owe it all to Bolan.
Ah, you see I'm in good company now. 3 Brummies.
Yes, Toya's joined us too. Noddy, you and Marc Bolan, who copied who? Did he copy you or you him?
No, I think Marc was the first one to sort of wear the glitter and all that, because Dave Hill, we were actually on that show at Top of the Pops when he first wore the glitter on his face, and Dave Hill freaked out when he saw that. He thought it was wonderful, and he influenced Dave, especially Marc.
He also influenced all the men in Birmingham to wash their hair.
Really?
Because just men never washed their hair throughout the 1960s. That's what I remember.
He was an amazing influence on musically and fashion, wasn't he?
Well, it was that kind of broken down structure of the guitar chords that he took on from Hendrix, and the production was fantastic, but he looked good, he looked as though he smelt great, and the music was fantastic as well.
And the thing was also with him is that blokes then were able to dress like that in satins and
well, did you ever discover
he never wore platforms, Marc. He used to wear those little ballet shoes.
Little ballet pumps.
Yeah,
but did he make you discover your feminine side then?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. I remember one night we were coming out the Top of the Pop studio with both the acts, and Marc and Don Powell, our drummer, both had big white Bentleys, and they were both parked outside the stage door next to one another, and we had to do the gauntlet of all the fans coming out. And myself and Dave Hill jumped into Bolan's accidentally and locked the door.
So you're in the wrong Bentley?
We were in the wrong Bentley. Yeah. And all the fans were jumping on Bolan because he couldn't get into his own back of his own car, and we were there.
You see, you should have rented a space like you said earlier.
When I was about 12 years old, I chased Dave Hill through a very famous department store in Birmingham.
Go on, which one? Lewis's or Rackham's?
Rackham's. Dave!
But he couldn't get away from her because of his boots.
So, rugby tackled and caught him. And this is, we've rehabilitated the 70s tonight, because I thought, you know, I thought it was a rather, everyone talks of it as a rather silly time, and I see it's really liberating to
it was fabulous.
And very influential, weren't it?
Great time for women as well, because it meant that women shared something. We really had something in common with men, because men suddenly became peacocks.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was always the women.
I've come to it late, but 2009, I've gone all 70. Are those doing it for you? Are those doing it for you?
They're not doing it in the right way.
No, all right. No. Absolutely typical.
You've kind of got to have the rest.
You make an effort, and look what happens.
Well, last week's Children in Need challenge saw dance.